I just want to say how grateful I am that she's here. I met her last week, and I didn't even realize what a fanboy I was. I mean, her connection to Napoleon Hill is near and dear to my heart. So let's go ahead and do the video, and we'll go from there. Thanks.
Big smile, yes? You feel happier? Be enthusiastic. Go the extra mile. Take action. So the concept of just sit here and think good things and good things are going to happen to you. Good luck with that. When income from your assets exceeds your monthly expenses, you are financially free.
She's a highly sought-after speaker. She has sold 30 million books, New York Times best-selling author, and the most kind and humble woman I've ever met.
Live your legacy and create maximum impact. We owe it to each other. We owe it to our children, to future generations. But most importantly, we owe it to ourselves. Because it's not work-life balance that's the issue, ladies and gentlemen. It's debt life. Debt is what causes a problem in your life. You're either a master of your money or a slave. So I've dedicated my career to financial education so that I can help people empower themselves to become the CEOs of their own life, to take control of their financial lives.
There you go, Sharon. Here's the backup.
Okay, backup. All right, always love backups. Hello, everyone. Let me step back and say thank you, Dan. I love it. It got that CPA juice in me going. At the end of the day, he's proving that you need to have a really good team around you, people who understand the numbers, because the numbers tell a story. I love telling this story in people's businesses and helping them identify those one or two things that can help take them to the next level. So Tab, thank you so much for inviting me to be here today. It was wonderful to meet him last week, and such an incredible event today supporting you. You know, I understand you're entrepreneurs. You know, entrepreneurship can be a pretty lonely place. You may have been in the corporate world and been around peers, and all of a sudden you're out on your own, and you are having to do things all by yourself, and everybody's looking to you for answers, all right? And you get a little frustrated because you're not quite sure you're making the right decisions. That's why it's so important to have the right team around you, the right advisors. You know, look for people that give you counsel, that have been there, done that. Importance of mentors and peer groups that can help you make those decisions. And so I'm absolutely delighted. And as the video said, I've had kind of lots of different things in my career. I had the opportunity of starting in a woman's magazine, but I actually started as a CPA. My parents, neither one of them had college educations, and so I grew up in this little tiny house between my mom's beauty shop and my dad's used car lot. We had rental properties that I had to go scrub out the bathrooms between tenants, and we also had orange groves, one of which is SeaWorld now. So I grew up in this totally entrepreneurial environment. I swore I would never be an entrepreneur. I was going to be a sophisticated professional. So I went and got my degree in accounting, became one of the very first women in public accounting in Atlanta. Single woman, career woman, in city of Atlanta, having a great time. Ripe old age of 25, I realized, I was working really long hours for someone else. I said, this is crazy. All of a sudden at 25, my parents started looking a whole lot smarter. And I had one of my clients invite me to leave with him and invest in a company, own a piece of the rock. And I went back to my condo and did the old pros and cons. This was well before PCs and cell phones. And it didn't help me a bit. I could have argued both sides. Have you been there? And my hand kind of took off and wrote across the top of the page, why not? Why not do something different? Why not go the path less traveled? And I think many of you have done that. Why not solve a problem or serve a need? The most successful companies solve a problem or serve a need. And when the days get tough, when you remind yourself what problem you're solving, what need you're serving, it gives you that energy to jump out of bed almost all the time. But I made that decision. It was the worst decision of my life. I got up there, it was in New Hampshire, found all kinds of corruption. So I ran away and was really nervous about the next step for me because I knew I could go back to public accounting, but I really didn't want to go back with my tail between my legs. So I made the decision I had to leave the company and came back and met an attorney that was there on some litigation the company had been in, and his name was Michael Lechter. And so we just celebrated 40 years of marriage, and Napoleon Hill says, out of every adversity comes a seed of equal or greater benefit. I got instant feedback. The worst business decision became the best life decision. And there was, as I said, we've been married 40 years. We have 3 children and 4 grandchildren. And that's what it's all about here, the family. But I started doing all kinds of entrepreneurial things. I started a women's magazine, and as they shared on the video, I started the talking children's book industry and grew that around the globe with The Inventor. And I learned so much about publishing, but also about building systems and having those systems that can scale. And so today I want to concentrate on talking to you about making sure your business is an asset. Wherever you are, I want you to say the word asset. My favorite word on earth, asset. Many of you may actually own a job. And I want to take you from owning a job to owning a true business that is an economic engine, an asset that works for you, that generates income when you're sleeping, that you can create the systems around it that you can duplicate and scale. Having the right people on your team. So that's what I'm going to concentrate on today. So we sold the talking book industry company, and I moved here to Arizona, where we've been here 30 years. And our oldest son went off to college at ASU in September of 1992. He came home in December in credit card debt. He had arrived at ASU and been greeted with a table with free pizza, free money, free t-shirt, free money. He had a really good time his first semester in college. Ended up coming home at December telling us he was $2,500 in credit card debt, and he'd also spent $2,500 out of a savings account that he wasn't supposed to know was there. So yes, he had a really good time. And one of the few good parenting decisions that we made was we would not bail him out. And it took him 7 years to get out of debt, 7 years to repair his credit. But he's as passionate as I am today about financial education and financial literacy. But that was December of 1992. And that's when I dedicated the rest of my career to financial literacy and financial education, providing the tools and opportunity and mentoring people to take their business to the level of success that they deserve. And so fast forward a few years, I had started working with school systems to try and teach financial education, hence the white hair, if you've ever worked with school systems. And I got a phone call from my husband one day, and he says, Sharon, I met this guy today that has what you've been looking for. Now, for the ladies watching, if your husband called you and said, I met a man today that has what you've been looking for, what would you do? I still remember where I was. It was back when cell phones were this giant and they were plugged, hardwired into the car. I go, okay, honey, tell me more. And my husband is an intellectual property attorney and was up at the tall building in downtown Phoenix, corner office, and this guy came in with his flip-flops and Bermuda shirts and shorts and a Hawaiian shirt, and his name was Robert Kiyosaki, with an idea for a board game. And it was about teaching people about the importance of buying, building, creating assets, exactly what I was teaching. And so I met Robert at a beta test for the board game Cash Flow. It was drawn out on pieces of paper, different crayons, and I was the only one that got out of the rat race, but I loved the concept because what he was teaching was the fact that financial freedom comes when your income from your assets exceed your monthly expenses. It does not have to be millions of dollars. When I met him, they lived in a condo. They had 2 small apartment complexes. They had $100,000 worth of passive income and living expenses of $35,000. They were financially free on $100,000 a year. That is the message I want you to hear. Buying, building, creating assets that generate income. When that income exceeds your monthly expenses, you are financially free. But it starts with understanding not exchanging time for money. And my second book with the Rich Dad Organization, because the book Rich Dad Poor Dad was actually written as a brochure to sell that board game, the cash flow board game, because he told me he wanted to charge $200 for it. And that's when he asked me to be his partner because of my background and what I'd learned in publishing and manufacturing. And so we became partners, and Rich Dad Poor Dad actually was the brochure that we wrote to promote the board game. The world said, no, we want more. Your brand is Rich Dad, not cash flow. And so we ended up writing 15 books together over a 10-year process. And Cash Flow Quadrant was the second book in the series. And this is about your mindset. And this is where I want to really have you open up your mind. Because in school, we're taught to be employees or self-employed. Doctors, lawyers, accountants, dentists. And that's the left side of the quadrant. And that is you exchanging time for money. If you don't get out of bed, you don't get paid. What school doesn't teach us, what the real world and what I teach people, is how to move to the right side of the quadrant, where you truly own a business, an economic engine that works for you. You have investments that you work for. Now, I stand before you today, and I make money out of all 4 quadrants. I'm an employee of my own organizations. I am a speaker, and I mentor people one-on-one, so that's the left side. But my husband and I own a lot of businesses and a lot of investments. We make far more money on the right side of the quadrant than we do on the left. And my superpower is helping you identify ways for you to move to the right side. How to get your business into an economic engine that can be not just successful. You already have a successful business, but I want to support you in making it sustainable, scalable, and saleable if you choose at some point. What is your exit plan? Or do you want to create a business that can go on for generations in your family? That's what I want to talk to you about. Because sometimes we get in love with our product. We figure out, we set up an e-commerce site, but we haven't built the foundation of the business. And that's what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about the foundation of the business. But it also always comes back to mindset. So when you think about, when I left the Rich Dad Organization, I had the incredible honor of being on the President's Advisory Council for President Bush and Obama. And there was a time during the economic crisis. And I also got the call at that point from the Napoleon Hill Foundation. I've done 4 books with them, and it's an incredible relationship. The first book I did was 3 Feet from Gold. And so I want to shift from the 4 quadrants to understanding the personal success equation. Your passion and your talent. Again, this is you. This is all about your school, your experience. My passion actually came from anger because we weren't teaching kids about money in school. Your passion may be something you love. My talent has a many year CPA publishing experience. Combine that, but most of us stop there. And true success comes from taking that knowledge and taking that passion and finding the right people to surround yourself with. That power of association. All of my success has come from having the right people on my team. When we did the talking book industry, we had this technology, and we said, how can we get parents to trust us? So we aligned with companies like Disney, Warner Brothers, Sesame Street, Marvel Comics. And all of a sudden, we gained their trust because of that affiliation. Power of association is so important. And then times A, taking action. How many times do we know what we're supposed to do? We just don't do it. Anybody busted? Yeah, me too. We know what we're supposed to do. We just don't do it. We let fear hold us back, which comes to the F at the end of this formula. That stands for faith. Faith in yourself, faith in what you're doing, faith that is needed and necessary, and faith that you will succeed. Now, too many of us, that F is fear. And that fear keeps us from achieving the success we deserve. Fear does one of two things. It paralyzes us or motivates us. Far more times than not, fear paralyzes us. We want to get under the covers, turn off the lights, and hide away. It forces us into inaction instead of action. And so I help people identify how they can get past that fear, turn that fear into energy to keep moving forward, to take the action you need to create the success you deserve, to put yourself in the position of greatest and highest potential. You are the CEO of your own life. All of us are where we are today because of the choices we made before today. If you want something different out of life, we simply need to start taking and making different choices. And once you go into action, that fear starts dissipating. It starts like, okay, go away. But then you want to focus on your business. As I say, too many times we fall in love with our product or our service. And then we train ourselves to be able to really talk about it. And we're excellent salespeople. We get our speaking ability. But that's only 2 legs of a 3-legged stool. And what happens when you only have 2 legs? Nothing good. The 3rd leg is your platform and your systems. Just like as we stand here, my lungs are helping me breathe. My heart is keeping my blood flowing. I wouldn't last too long without those systems. And our business needs the same type of systems to keep it going and to make us move from owning a job to owning a business. And so you do that by understanding the foundation that you need to build a strong business. If you decide to build a house, you go down before you go up, because the strength of your home depends on the strength of the foundation, and your business is the same thing. Some people think that the accounting side is kind of boring. Others think the legal side is kind of boring. And you know what? Sometimes it is. But boy, is it exciting when you sell a company for 10x, 100x what you thought you could, because you took the time to do the boring stuff. Because the boring stuff gives you the opportunity to grow on a strong and solid foundation. Now, my husband, who's an attorney, would not appreciate me talking about it being boring, because it's really exciting to him. That's why it's important to have people like him on your team. And as Dan was talking, he got me excited. I love the numbers because the numbers tell a story. Not everybody does. You need to make sure you emphasize your strengths and hire your weaknesses. So what you see on the screen is the essential components of a successful business. On the outside is your mission. What is the problem you solve? What is the need you serve? Always remind yourself every single morning. That gives you the inspiration, the energy to keep going, because it takes it outside of you. Your team, your advisors, your employees, your vendors. Business is a team sport. And then your leadership, your ability to lead, your ability to be the cheerleader for your team or the pit boss, and the wisdom to know which one you need to be. Because your leadership of yourself, your company, your team will determine the speed of your success. Now, inside, you're going to see legal. That includes the entity that you have as your business, protecting your personal assets. Legal also includes protecting your intellectual property. It also means protecting your employees and yourself when you actually, in this world of outsourcing everything, it's so important to have the right agreements. You build a successful company and then you have somebody that wants to buy it. They come in, you don't have the right agreements, the valuation of your company plummets. Because when you hire somebody to help you on a website, you may not own it. Yeah. You hire somebody to do some copy for you, you may not own it. You have to understand the importance of work for hire agreements so that when you pay for a product, it becomes yours. Very important. I've seen so many companies get hurt because they haven't taken the right steps legally to protect themselves. You have important employees, having the right contractual agreements with them. If you operate with some trade secrets, making sure you have that in your employment agreements. And you don't have to do this all on your own. And I don't advise pulling forms off the internet. It may sound expensive up front, but it's so much cheaper than getting yourselves into legal troubles later. That legal foundation is so, so important. And then available resources. Now, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in a bit because most people think they have to have a lot of money and they want to start a company, they want to get outside investors. Okay, my success comes from finding the right partners and using other people's money, time, and resources. And I'll share a little bit more about that. But you want to make sure, so many companies get into trouble because they get excited. They build all this product that they have to pay for today. Then they sell it, and maybe it takes a little longer to sell it than they expected. And then they don't collect for 30, 60, 90 days. And they haven't accounted for that 180-day swing of when money goes out the door and when you get the money back. So many times, you heard Dan talk about cash flow. That's the cash flow. So you have to make sure you have enough of your resources. Get a letter of credit, a line of credit, before you need it. So it's there to support you as you continue growing. So many companies that got excited about their success, they could not grow at the speed of their success because they didn't have the financial backing. And that's where you have the right people on your team is so important. And your relationships, again, back to power of association. Relationships with your advisors. Relationships with your employees. Making sure you have the right culture in your company. Relationships with your vendors. Making sure that you continue having that heart-to-heart connection, not just receivable, payable relationship, so that you create a culture of combined success. And then communications and marketing. You have the greatest product on earth. And if people don't know how to find you, you're not going to be as successful as you could. How are you communicating that? And in this world of social media, one of the biggest mistakes I see companies make, and I bet a few of you are in this category, you get so excited about your social media. You have hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers, 50,000 Facebook followers, and 5,000 in your database. Now, when somebody's going to come in and value your company, yeah, they're going to be impressed that you have that social media, but Facebook can turn you off tomorrow. I know, it just happened to me. Somebody hijacked my Facebook account. 5,000 people gone overnight, my personal profile. And I'm having to start all over with a new one. But the vast majority of those people are in my database. We work with clients every single day, encouraging them to find ways to attract all that social media into their database. Yes, you want to be out there in the stratosphere and Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, now Clubhouse, but you want to find a way to bring them home. Give, then ask. Bringing them into your database increases the valuation of your company incredibly high because that's that relationship. Because as you know, Facebook and Instagram, they have these algorithms. And so you might post something in Facebook you have 50,000 people in your Facebook, but maybe only 500 see it because of the algorithms. You have 50,000 people in your database, you can reach all 50,000. Now, you don't know if they're all going to open it, but you have the opportunity to touch them. So important to use social media as a lead generator, but nurture your social media by inviting them to come home to your database. And you will see the increase in the valuation of your company significantly. And that leads us to the business systems. How do you do all that? You hear funnels, right? I use the word customer journey because there's a difference between selling and serving. Selling is a transaction. It's a one-time thing. So you make a sale and then you have to find the next customer. And so I want you to establish a relationship with your customer. Because when you create a relationship with your customer, you generate a lifetime of sales. And you do that by nurturing them. A customer journey. Give, ask. Give, ask. And so I want to challenge you to take some time and say, do I have my systems documented? Because when we talk about scalability, it's also sustainability. Because you might have the greatest employees on earth, but what happens if one of them gets sick or decides to move away? Unless you have what they do documented and the systems of your company, you're going to be in a world of hurt. And believe me, it's a whole lot easier to manage a system than it is to manage a personality. An example, one of my clients owned some very successful dental practices. And she's one of my high-level mentoring clients. And one of the ones, she said, I'm just so frustrated. She has this young Gen Zer that's at the front desk. And they just could not connect because she's such a high-level, high performer. And so I said, well, what's the problem? And she's always checking her phone, always looking at her phone. I'm going to tell her she can't look at it all day. I go, well, let's talk about this. Do you have a code of conduct for your company? No. So, well, let's start with there. Because then if you talk about what your expectations are and how people treat the clients, and then policies and procedures. And so she took the time to do that. Everybody agreed. They all basically went over them, and they all kind of signed on to it. And then there was like a 7-step code of conduct. And so the next time there was a problem with this young lady at the front desk, she said, so which one of these did you break? Because they got to the point where she would agree that 5 minutes every hour they could check in on their phone. Both of them agreed to that. But then it became humorous because they could say, yeah, I blew 4. And it became a relationship of talking about systems that don't have emotions rather than accusing somebody subjectively. Make it objective by creating systems and expectations that people can follow. But it also allows you to have somebody step out and someone else step in because your systems are documented. You can draw the parallel of a fast food restaurant. The owner is not there, but it runs like a fine-oiled machine because the systems are so tight and secure. You want to do that as well. You want to understand that your business systems can create tremendous value. They can create intellectual property. Every time you find a way to solve a problem within your business, document it, because that's valuable. That may make you quicker, faster, higher quality than your competition. It generates competitive advantage. And competitive advantage increases the value of your company tremendously. And then sitting on the top, I haven't talked about this yet, is your product or service. Because if you've done everything else, then you're going to have the ability to 10x, 100x your sales. 10x, 100x the valuation of your company. So I invite you to judge yourself in each of these categories and see where you need the most work. Because once you have these systems put together, you can take one and duplicate it. My husband and I own a part of a company that has an alternative fuel. It's very exciting, and it increases efficiency by over 30% in certain types of fuel. And so as a company, we have this system going, but then we had outreach from a bus system. So we were able to do a deal with bus companies. Then the government came for government vehicles, different vertical. Then we had long-distance trucking companies. So it allowed us to take our system and place it in different verticals, which allowed us to scale the success of the company. And we do that through other people's money, time, resources, through licensing. When you have a license like that, you have quality control built in. That's intellectual property. It allows you to make such a much bigger impact. The first slide said the play big movement. It's being number one in your field, living your legacy, because that's created every day with every heart you touch, and creating maximum impact. You have every opportunity. And you know what? A responsibility. If you're going to work hard, reach as many people as possible. And that comes right back to intellectual property, and then that power of association, finding other people that want to share what you know. They could be in a compatible industry. They could be in a different geographic region. 1 + 1 is 11, not 2, when you combine through the power of association. And this is what I've taught for many, many years. And I have a new book coming out with Inc. magazine where I've taken all of these philosophies to help people understand how to build that sound business practice. And everything I just talked about, we kind of like pulled it down into one arena with the gal. My co-author is the top female business broker in the country. And so she looked at businesses from a tactic. This is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do. And then I looked at it from an overall strategy perspective as a mentor of many business owners and as a potential investor, a tool that you can use to analyze other companies. How well are they doing? Have they crossed the T's and dotted the I's? And the book is called Exit Rich. And the question is, do you want a book that's going to cost you $24? It's going to give you an opportunity to 10x, 100x your business. That one thing that you might find in there can help you close the loop on something that has been open and causing you frustrations. And then we talk about the 6 P's, and it's really your people. That power of association I talked about. Your employees, your advisors. Do you have a mentor? And how to analyze that and build valuation in your company because of the systems that you have. Your products, your product or service. And then processes. That processes means business systems. How you do things. Do you do them more efficiently, more effectively, higher quality, lower price? Every one of those adds value and creates competitive advantage. Then, proprietary. I love this area the most because that's what makes you unique. That's what makes you take that road less traveled. That why not? That's the philosophy I had when I left public accounting. I said, why not do something different? Well, your business has taken a channel of why not do something different, better, higher quality. And that creates that competitive advantage and builds intellectual property, intangible assets. Now, if you think of the world we live in today, one of the largest transportation companies, Uber, owns no cars. One of the largest hospitality companies, Airbnb, owns no property. Intangible, what you know up here can be your greatest asset. So intellectual property helps people differentiate themselves from the competition. Then your patrons, your database, as I've shared. bringing as many of those people from social media into your database, establishing that customer journey so that when you have potential suitor coming in, you can lay it out. And what's their first impression? Is their first impression going to be they haven't crossed their T's and dotted their I's? Or is their first impression going to be, wow, they've got this place buttoned up. They're ready to expand. Which one's going to get a higher offer? The one that's done the homework and done the due diligence to pull the processes together to identify the intellectual property. When you identify it, you want to protect it, and then you can leverage it. And the last one is your profits. Now, too many people just focus on the product and the profits, and they skip everything else in between. But if you want the greatest amount of profit and the highest amount of sales, you take care of all 6 Ps. And so in the book, we go through each step to encourage you to analyze your existing operations. And invariably, when I work with someone new, I always take them back to the personal success equation. It's the power of association that they need the most help on, combined with that faith and confidence in themselves. And that's where you have the importance of really being a mentor. And you can get a copy of this if you go to personalsuccessequation.com. It's completely free. It walks you through your passion, your talents, your association, action, and faith. Because everyone I work with, we take through this process. That power of a lot of companies start off really fast, and they have this great hockey stick, and then they plateau. And invariably, they've plateaued because they've stopped finding new markets. They've stopped expanding their association. Or they've had a great mentor who got them to where they are today, who's not qualified to get them to where they deserve to be tomorrow. So as the leader of your company, you have to make the decision. Do I have the right people on my team? Do I have people on my team who are strong where I am weak? Do I have people on my team who still challenge me? You know, you've heard the phrase, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in trouble. You want somebody that's encouraging you, pushing you, shoving you at times, but also someone who's doing the things that you're not really good at. And so many times we try to do everything ourselves. And so I encourage you to really take the time to look at your business and be honest with yourself. And when you're looking at your business, you might want to be looking in the mirror and say, am I giving this business the opportunity to become an economic engine, an income-producing asset that can grow? You don't have to sell it. I want you to exit rich, but you don't have to. I want you to create that asset that's generating for you that you can leave to your children because you've created this engine. When we talk about the definition of a big business is if you can leave and come back in 6 months and it's bigger and stronger. That means you've created that economic engine. You've assigned the processes. You've outlined them. You've protected it legally. You've protected the intellectual property. And so I've been really excited about this process because I mentor, we've got programs online, but doing this book, I just love it when I can create something with such value at low expense. And the book is available in June on Amazon. But right now I want to make it available to you because you have the opportunity to get it if you'd like on a digital copy. The actual hard copy will be mailed to you, but you can visit exitrichbook.com/buy if you'd like to get the details. Michelle Salyer-Tucker is an incredible, just a brilliant woman, and she's sold thousands of companies. I have built many companies and I've mentored hundreds of companies, and between us, we've seen it all. We share a lot of good stories and we share a lot of oopses, and it's a way to learn and be able to take your business forward. And so I'd love to be able to answer some questions, but it's my absolute honor to be here. There's ways where you can reach out to me. Go to the Personal Success Equation. I'm SharonLechter.com. And I'm on all the social media. And when you get into my social media, you see us inviting you to our database. So I want you to do what I say and what I do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was amazing. I mean, it was like a fire hose of information. And I know Ruben over there was saying, okay, are we going to be able to watch this later? Are we going to be able to listen? There's just so much information. And I told him, for everybody else, yes, but not for him. So we have a couple of questions. This one I really like. It's by Aiden. I'm 11 years old and want to start my own DJ business and create a DJ board game.
A board game. I love this.
What advice can you give me? That's fantastic.
Aiden, reach out to us at info@SharonLechter.com. We have a biz kit that I will give you because you're asking the question that will help you create your own business. It's normally $100, but reach out to us, info@SharonLechter, and make sure your parents are involved since you're 11. Got to keep us straight. But also, just do it. I love it. And you parents have given you the opportunity to stay creative, and I applaud them as well. So one step at a time. Go for it.
Well, you've got the questions too. I think we have time for one more, even if we go a little bit over. And this is from Sarah. Assets. I like that with an exclamation point. What kind should I have? Is there a particular sequence or order that I should be acquiring them?
Thank you, Sarah. Great question. Just number one, say assets. Everybody, assets. Assets include paper assets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Assets include intellectual property, what you know, right up here. Includes rental properties, real estate, and businesses. It also includes collectibles, that type of thing. But I want you to focus on what you're good at and start in one area. So it might be putting a little money away in the stock market. It might be finding a rental property that you can buy, because you may only have to put 20% down, 10 to 30% down, and the bank gives you the rest. But you own 100% of the property, you own 100% of the appreciation, 100% of the depreciation, and so it allows you to accelerate the velocity of your money. But what you know, every one of you is an expert, because nobody's had your successes, nobody's had your learning opportunities. Even you, Aiden, because you've learned what your passion is. And so you want to take your expertise and become the authority. And you do that by putting yourself in a position of knowledge and letting people access that. You do that through creating books, programs, opportunities for people to learn from you when you're not there. And those assets start generating money. I think I've written 26 books. And books are a way for you to share your knowledge. And certainly where we've been in this last year, a lot of us have been through things that we don't want to go through again. Could have been a death, a divorce, could have been an illness, financial setback. But you're still here. You're still here for a reason. And what you've experienced and how you've survived it can help others going through it. So a lot of people say, well, what do I write about? Just start thinking about your own life experience and how you can help others. But don't just write the book. Build the platform and the business around the book. Okay?
Can we get a big thank you? I know we don't have a lot of people here, but let's give her a big thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Welcome to Refiners. Refiners is an organization of business owners and business professionals that are looking to improve their business and personal performance, just like you. As a Refiners member, you will have the opportunity to build connections with like-minded individuals from your industry. Join our amazing community for free at refiners.io.